Live.
Hey, yo, what's up, fight fans? We are live on MMA Weekly, the most trusted source for news and entertainment in mixed martial arts since 2002. And it is MMA Weekly's live coverage of UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2. And it is powered by CBD Emporium featuring Level Select CBD. Go to cbdemporium.com/Level Select MMA. Code MMA50 gets you 50% all your CBD Emporium Level Select CBD products today. Level Select CBD, stay in the fight, and we are on the fight. We're not on Fight Island, Jeff Kane, but we are ready to rock. I'm Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Jeff Kane went back into his closet, pulled out another shirt, and we are ready to rock all weekend long, wall to wall, Jeff. The best coverage of the biggest fight in a long damn time in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Poirier McGregor 2.
Yeah, first pay-per-view event of the year, man. Big fight. We're kicking off 2021 kind of like we did 2020, right? Conor McGregor headlining a UFC pay-per-view.
Man, he just seems so different. Last year he did for sure during, Fight Week with Cowboy, and I got to, ask him a bunch of things and just see the difference in Conor McGregor. He's a lot more subdued. He definitely has a ton of respect for Dustin Poirier. He's not changing the message of what he's saying. He's still saying the same thing. I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to end him. I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to put a beating on him like he's never seen. But he's not the same brash, outlandish, crazy Conor McGregor. And there's a maturity level. And there's a certain point that every athlete hits in their career where you start to see them change and you start to see them, for lack of a better term, grow up. And that's what we're seeing here with Conor McGregor. Both guys are completely different fighters for sure. But the maturity level of the Notorious is one of the first things that stands out to me right now.
It's probably Khabib's foot still in his ass. It humbles you, right? It humbles you whenever you talk that amount of stuff and then you lose on that big stage. He's maturing because he realizes now that you kind of look silly when you talk that much smack and then get beat down. And so while that worked to promote himself to be the biggest star in the sport, it might not be the best thing to do right now.
No, that's a great point. It's probably still Khabib's foot in his ass. We talk about it. Khabib would have snapped his head off. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed this, and I'm sure you did because you notice everything after 18 years of writing for MMA Weekly and covering the sport with the pipeline that you have and the historical perspective. Did you see what came out a couple of days ago in the news where Khabib said, hey, I didn't tell Dana I might fight again. Dana's interpreting that his own way.
It says it's not in the plan. It's not in the plan. Yep. But we brought that up. When Khabib left on Wednesday and did not stay for this fight, that was a big signal that I don't think that fight's going to happen. It doesn't look like – so the conversation with Dana – and there's two sides to every story, right? Dana's a promoter, and he kind of used Khabib and Conor to build this fight. And so I don't know, man. We're going to find out next week. Dana meets with Khabib in Las Vegas, and we're going to find out what he's going to do with his career. But I think all the signaling right now is that Khabib's done fighting.
Yeah, and that's what Khabib has said all along. And I think Dana was literally going to milk it for everything he could to drum up more interest in this fight. Look, you shouldn't have to, but Dana's Dana, and he's brilliant. You take it from $2.2 million to $4.2 billion, and Lorenzo was a big part of that, as we know, and now the valuation is somewhere around $8 billion. But, man, we're pumped to be here, Jeff. Poirier versus McGregor 2 right here on MMA Weekly, powered by CBD Emporium and Level Select CBD. And I want to say this about Dustin Poirier. I really love this dude. As a fighter, as a human, as a fighter's fighter, as a veteran of the sport, as a family guy, when you watch the embeddeds I've been to ATT and I've gotten a chance to talk to Dustin outside of the spotlight of the UFC, and he is just a great dude, without a doubt. And by all accounts, Conor is too when he's not putting on the Notorious show. But for Dustin Poirier, man, a chance to come full circle and avenge that loss to Conor McGregor. He may not ever get a chance to avenge the loss to Khabib. Both guys were actually choked out by Khabib in the same way. Poirier put up a pretty good fight against Nurmagomedov, but in the first fight against McGregor, Conor just destroyed him. They were at featherweight. It was 7 years ago. Poirier came in angry and upset, and the biggest thing I learned leading up to this fight, the biggest difference in Poirier, and he was coming off the big surgery when he fought Hooker, and that was a big one, but Mike Brown, his coach, one of the best in the game, and who doesn't have respect for Mike Brown of American Top Team, said Poirier went into every single fight angry back then. And I'm paraphrasing. He was so good most of the time he got away with it against Conor McGregor. And Conor even said Poirier came at him hard and fast last time. Conor with the pinpoint precision. Here's the thing that people don't realize about Conor McGregor. Poirier is a great fighter. Conor McGregor's accuracy combined with his power. He hit Alvarez 3 times on the button while he was falling. His shot against Aldo was pinpoint precision. His accuracy combined with his power is something we haven't seen much of. I mean, we talked about Max being the best boxer. His accuracy and his output is amazing, but we've very rarely seen anybody with the combination of accuracy and power of Conor McGregor. So if you're going to box him, bum rushing him and coming right at him that way is definitely not the way to do it. So the question is, 7 years later, how much better is Poirier? How much did he learn? How much more relaxed will he be? You have to think he's going to be a completely different mindset going into this one, because even leading up to the last fight, Jeff, he was angry the whole time. He was in Conor's face. He was talking trash. This time, both men have been cordial and almost like in a calculated way, just nice and calm and poised leading up to this fight.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of Conor's strategy is to get you to fight on emotion, right? I mean, that's what he does. Aldo went straight at him, paid the price for it. He makes everybody come at him like that, and they pay the price for it. Khabib, he can't play mental games with, so that didn't play out in that fight. And then Poirier's already been in there with him. Poirier's felt the power. Poirier's been in there with him. It's been 6 or 7 years since that. And I don't think that that's going to work a second time on Poirier, but that's part of Conor's strategy. His strategy is to get you emotional, fight on emotions, and you want to knock Conor McGregor out, which plays right into his strategy. Anderson Silva sort of did the same thing back in the day. You pressure guys like that with that accuracy and that counter-striking ability, you're most likely going to lose. Don't go chasing, Wonder Boy around the octagon. You're going to get beat up doing that. And that's what Conor forces his opponents to do before the fight ever starts. Before the fight ever starts, he's got you to where you're emotionally invested and you're wanting to take his head off, and it just plays right into his game plan.
Yeah, no doubt. And this footage we're seeing right now is the open workout for the Maymac fight. And, nobody sells a fight like Conor McGregor. I was actually there that day. We were there that day, all of us. And that was one of the most unbelievable spectacles you've ever seen, the Mayweather-McGregor press conference tour and the workouts and all that. But as we get ready for Poirier versus McGregor 2, the chat room's filling up, Jeff. We got some good ones. We've got some pretty amazing people who follow us here on MMA Weekly. And one thing I'll say about us with these shows, nobody ever leaves the chat. You guys stick around the whole time. So we love that. MMA Freak said MMA Weekly slacking. We weren't slacking. We're right on time, guys. And here you are. And had to point out that. But in the chat, I love Gina Carano. Gaethje is better. Better than who? Than Conor? I mean, better than Poirier. Poirier already beat him. And Gaethje that was a really good fight. I was sitting 10 feet away. Poirier and Gaethje in Arizona. And we need Mike Goldberg just to say the word Poirier so we can play it 1,000 times in every show, because the way that Goldie says his name is absolutely perfect. It's almost like Goldie's French when he says it, because he's from Louisiana. Poirier is. So Poirier. It's not Poirier, it's Poirier. But here we go. Mig DeFig says Khabib is trash. Conor McGregor will destroy him. Jeff, I had to read that one just so you could respond to it.
Well, I mean, like I said, you got to be real careful about that. I mean, if Khabib's trash, then Conor McGregor's gum on the bottom of your shoe, right? I mean, so you got to be careful in putting down the people that absolutely own the guy you're trying to build up.
Poirier is a good guy, but McGregor will smack his face. Oh, Suspect Puma says Gaethje's better than Ferguson. We got a bunch of people. A smack from Conor is like getting shot by a double-barrel shotgun. Well, the thing against Khabib that happened with Conor, and Diaz, he gassed out in the first fight, and he almost lost the second when it was close. But the Khabib fight, he was so worried about the takedown defense that he got crushed with that big overhand right. And I believe round number 2. I think it was round number 2. And that changed the whole course of the fight for Conor McGregor. But people said McGregor did win a round. Khabib completely outclassed him. Anyone who thinks Khabib didn't completely outclass McGregor in that matchup, you're sadly mistaken. In fact, I think Poirier actually had a much better showing against Khabib than Conor did. You remember Dustin actually had the rear naked sunk in on Khabib, and for a second you thought, wow, is Poirier going to choke out Khabib in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island before it was Fight Island? No. Didn't end up happening, but we're not talking about Khabib. We're talking about Conor and Poirier. And to me, this fight comes down to one thing and one thing only, Jeff. And I'll be completely honest with you. And we could sit here and do 10 hours of analysis. We can talk about it till we're blue in the face, and we will, and I will. But I will literally tell you that it's coming down to this. If Poirier decides that he wants to stand there and trade with Conor McGregor, he's going to get knocked out. If Poirier uses his grappling, because he's great on the ground, if he looks for takedowns, if he looks to push him up against the cage and beat him up and be dirty with him and drag him down and beat him up, he'll win the fight. He has a really good chance to win the fight that way. In fact, he's still plus 1,100 to win by submission. So I think it comes down to that. I'm actually ripping you off because you said this on one of our shows this week, but it's absolutely true. If he stands in trade, good night, Poirier. If he tries to make it a complete MMA fight and shows a little bit of everything to Conor throughout 5 rounds, he's got a great chance.
I mean, if he's going to stand and strike with Conor, he's got to not stand directly in front of McGregor, and he's got to rotate away from McGregor's power hand. And Poirier has plenty of experience to do both of those things. This is a very different fight than the first fight. And you mentioned it. Poirier used to fight mad. He wanted to go out there and prove something. He wanted to take your head off. I think that we are seeing 2 different fighters now where Poirier is going to approach this fight a lot more methodical, right? I mean, I'm not going to stand out there at distance. Conor McGregor puts any kind of leather on me, I'm clinching him. I'm tying him up. I'm not giving him the distance. You're not having the space. And then when I'm at distance, I'm keeping it in my kicking range because I feel like Poirier's kicks are better than McGregor's. McGregor's hands are better than Poirier. But we'll see. Plus, that there's the intangibles, the variables that we don't talk about a lot. Conor's fought twice since 2016. In that same time, Poirier's fought 8 times against the top people in the world, and so you can't just ignore that. If one of them is going to be really sharp, Poirier is going to be sharp, and so we're going to see if these layoffs have had any impact on McGregor's accuracy, any impact on his cardio, any impact on everything, because I don't care how good you are. You can't just fight 2 times in 3 years and expect to maintain the same level of everybody else. Everybody else is improving. You can never sit back and take time off. I'm not saying Conor took time off. He might have been on his yacht shadowboxing. I don't know. But I think that's something that people aren't looking at into this fight is Conor's inactivity and Poirier's activity and who Poirier has fought while Conor McGregor's been on the sideline. And now McGregor fought, Cowboy, but I mean, you know what I mean? That's not Dan Hooker. That's not just Justin Gaethje. That's not the same people that Poirier has faced.
No, Conor has 46 seconds in the octagon since 2018 against Cowboy Cerrone, where he just bludgeoned him through the shoulder. I think Conor's kicks are great, Jeff. I don't know about the kick thing. I know Poirier. Look, he's great. You're great at everything when you get to be a champion, when you get to be top of the top in the world. You're great at everything. Other people are better. Just like Conor's wrestling, grappling, they're not that bad. He's actually really decent on the ground. Years of working with Dylan Dennis. It's just not what he's known for. It's not what he's known for. So he has knocked everybody out for the most part. And on his way up, Holloway stood and faced him for the entire fight and didn't get knocked out. That was one guy on the way. But, everybody who Conor has faced, for the most part, he has finished. And he has done it violently. And he has done it, dare I say, easily to a lot of people. Now, Diaz, he went the distance in the second fight, got finished in the first one. Khabib, he got finished. But for the most part, Conor has finished everyone. Those knees he was throwing against Cowboy Cerrone were crazy. His violent aggression combined with the pinpoint precision, I've never seen anything like it. He came right at Jose Aldo and hit him with that big shot. 13 seconds later, Conor was the champ. Aldo was throwing at the same time and glanced him with a shot, but Conor got there first. His accuracy, his precision, his quickness, and the power that he hits you with, especially as you go higher up in weight. At 55, Conor's just a beast. He's only fought there twice, Khabib and Alvarez, but he just toyed with Alvarez, finished him, and just the precision, hitting him 3 times on the way down. But like you said, he hasn't fought a lot. You can train all you want, but that's not a fight. We don't know. And Conor's had knocks on his cardio forever. People have said, hey, he doesn't have the gas tank that a lot of people do. Poirier went the distance with Hooker. That was after the hip surgery. So a lot of people think Poirier wasn't his best against Dan Hooker. And we'll find out a lot more about Dan Hooker on Saturday night against Michael Chandler making his debut. But what I think, guys, and you're welcome to put your thoughts in the chat. Put all your thoughts in the chat and let us know what you think. We'll read as many as we can. It's going so fast, I can't even see it right now. But we will be here for almost an hour today, and we got wall-to-wall coverage tomorrow. We're going to be live throughout the fight right here on MMA Weekly, and then post-fight show the next day. Who wins and how, guys? Who wins and how? Give us your best analysis in the chat. And roll call, too, MMA Weekly. Roll call right now. Where are you from? Put your countries up there. Put your cities and your countries. We love reaching people all over the world with these shows. It's MMA Weekly's live coverage of UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2, and it is powered by CBD Emporium and Level Select CBD. Go to cbdemporium.com/levelselectmma. Code MMA50 gets you 50% off CBD Emporium and Level Select CBD products. They're amazing. You'll love them. They're all over the fight game. Every fighter uses them. We all use them, the Weekend Warriors as well. Level Select CBD. Stay in the fight. And that's the biggest thing. As we segue, Jeff, stay in the fight is what Poirier has to do. All this talk Conor's giving us about, hey, I might just drag him into deep waters to prove my cardio. Who you fooling, Conor? Who you fooling? Conor McGregor wants to end you and end you fast. So the longer Poirier can stay in the fight, the better it is for him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Conor's record. He has one win that's gone past the second round, right? And that's Holloway, by decision.
Max.
So he when he says I'm going to drag him, look, Conor just promotes the fight. You know, these are fighters. Both fighters think they're going to win. You got to take what they say with a grain of salt. Yes, of course, Conor McGregor thinks he's going to win inside of a minute. Poirier doesn't. If we're going to find out on Saturday. But I think that Poirier's smart. You know, Poirier's a smart fighter. You just don't get into those wild exchanges early with McGregor. Tie him up. Go for some takedowns. And the longer the fight goes, his power diminishes. That goes with everybody. It's not just Conor McGregor. That's anyone. You know, if you can get him against the cage and work him a little bit, tire him down a little bit, then the sting on those punches are a little less, and then you can stand and trade with him. But I think Poirier has every intention on being the latest guy to submit Conor McGregor.
I like Mig DeFig's comment. He says Khabib fans can't write. So we got the roll call out there, Jeff. McGregor in 1. Izzy has no balls. He should move down to 170 to fight Conor. Would you? I don't know if Izzy has any chance of moving down to 170. That would be a pretty terrible weight cut. So we have Tunisia. We have Tunisia. We have TKO max 58.59 seconds. Here we go. We've got Philippines. We've got Ireland. We've got Texas. We've got Baltimore, Maryland, West Chicago, Illinois, Romania, Czech. There's the Czech Republic, Cairo, Egypt, Singapore. Wow, this is unbelievable. Portugal, where Conor's been training. Sweden, say hello. And Sweden, Stefan Johansson from Sweden wants to know, Jeff, and I'll let you answer this one. What will happen with the belt if Khabib don't return?
It'll be vacant, and the winner of this fight on Saturday will face probably the winner of the co-main event for the championship. I would say just because that's the way it's lined out, right?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at the guy who wrote, I'm in Biden's basement. That's great. Best one so far. I'm in Biden's basement.
I do want to know where
the person...
I do want to know where the person from the Czech Republic is from. I lived in the Czech Republic in college in Olomouc, the Czech Republic. Love the Czech Republic. So
we got South. Do you really live? I have South Africa. I have Biden's basement. I have Netherlands. I have, where are we at here? We have, let's see, one more. Where'd it go? I'm trying to read one more, and everybody's writing who they think is going to win. And it's Jeff, it's 50-50. I mean, maybe 60-40 McGregor. We have someone from India, someone from Samoa, Belgium, Mexico, North Korea, Georgia. I wonder which Georgia that is. Latvia, Poland, Uranus. Best one so far. Yeah, we love you guys. Coming through strong.
Nice, yeah.
Scandinavia.
We just need somebody from Neptune.
Neptune, Calgary, Canada. So, Jeff, with that belt question, right, if Khabib doesn't fight again, the belt's vacant after this fight. The winner is one. Is the other one Gaethje? Is it Oliveira? Is it the Chandler Hooker winner? You have some options there.
I mean, I would say it's the Chandler Hooker winner because they put it on this pay-per-view, and it's the co-main event leading into this big fight that's going to crown the number one contender if Khabib's gone. And so it just makes sense. They put the time and the energy into promoting these two fights. And so I think that the winner of the main and the co-main event will fight for the vacant title, and then maybe you'll see Gaethje and Oliveira face each other.
Khabib was on the Finding a Fight. I just watched that episode a few hours ago. Khabib doesn't seem like he has fully retired. And Dana said pay-per-view for Khabib versus McGregor 2 will be higher. Yeah, Dana says that all the time. Dana wakes up in the middle of the night dreaming about the cash from Khabib McGregor 2, and we know that. But Jeff doesn't think Khabib's going to fight again. I think it's 50-50, and I think the only reason he fights again is to do it in Russia with 100,000 people there to get that 30-0 against Conor McGregor, to destroy Conor in Russia, in Moscow probably, with 100,000 people there or close to it, and do it to get that 30 that his father wanted him to get, but to do it in his homeland, because remember, that's something that he hasn't done. That's something that to headline a show, to fight a fight this big, and to do it in his home country would be the crowning achievement of his career, regardless of whether it's 30-0 or not, Jeff. To be able to do that, I think that would be what gets him back. And I've said that throughout the shows as the chat blows up. I can't even keep up with it to read it. But I'm with you. I mean, I don't think it's anything close to a given that Khabib fights again. And I do think Conor McGregor will be the champion of this division by the end of the year. I think he's going to beat Poirier. I think he's going to beat whoever he fights next. And I do believe Conor wins this fight. He's actually going to have a bunch of input into who he faces, meaning he's not going to fight Oliveira. You can scratch that one off right now. And I don't think Oliveira should get the title shot yet. I think he has to beat another fighter first before he gets the chance. So I think Conor would personally probably pick Justin Gaethje, but the Chandler Hooker winner, I don't know how you leapfrog Justin when Justin got the title shot. He was just the interim champ, but his only loss is to Khabib. So how are you going to leapfrog Justin and put Michael Chandler in his second UFC fight, or Hooker, who beats a guy coming in from Bellator after losing to Poirier? To me, neither one of those guys is on Gaethje's level.
But Gaethje's coming off a devastating one-sided defeat.
He is, but only to Khabib. And Khabib, if Khabib's gone, don't you give him a mully on that?
No. No.
But you're going to give Michael Chandler in his second UFC fight if he beats Dan Hooker, who's coming off a loss himself? I could see if Chandler was fighting, Gaethje and beat him, or someone at the top of the rankings, but Hooker's number 6.
Yeah, Gaethje's sitting at number 1 coming off of a loss to the champion. And so you're saying that if he should get the title shot over this co-main event, but all I'm saying is that the UFC put this as the co-main event to Conor McGregor for a reason, and it wasn't because Michael Chandler's debut. Michael Chandler was the backup already for the title fight. He was the backup for Gaethje and Khabib before, and so the UFC's already got him penciled in as a title fight. I don't know his contract. Maybe it was guaranteed that he would get a title fight in his first 2 fights. I don't know, but it sure looks like the UFC lined him up for a title fight as a backup, and then put him as a co-main event to Conor McGregor to build him up. I think that's where they're going.
Shot, yeah. No, you're right. I think that's where they're going too, but I don't think it should be. Let me ask you this, period, point blank. Besides Khabib, who are the 2 best fighters at 55 in the world, in your opinion?
Poirier, Gaethje, and then I think that we have to see what happens to Ferguson after those 2 losses.
Okay. Yeah, I think Ferguson, he won't even be in the top 10 by the end of 2021. That's what I think. I don't dislike him. I love him. But I like your call out, Jeff, for him. Whoops, sorry, Jeff. I was going to say I loved your proposal to have El Kakui fight RDA. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's what they'll end up going with. It's a good matchup, and it allows Tony somewhere to land. Because that's really where we are right now. We're just going to figure out where the hell's Tony land now. He was at the top of that division for so long, and he took these 2 one-sided losses, and so we don't know where he really lands. I'm not writing Tony Ferguson off because he didn't lose. Oliveira is a tough out for anybody. That's the fight nobody wants. Nobody in the division wants that. We just talked about that. Conor McGregor is going to take that fight. And I don't care how many times Charles Oliveira wins. Conor McGregor's not taking that fight because it's a terrible stylistic matchup for him.
Yeah, it is.
So I just want to see where Tony's going to fall. I'm not really writing Tony off yet because of what he's done. Let him go back, and I think he came back too soon. When you get beat down like he did, that was so one-sided. He took so much damage. I think he came back too early. I'm not taking anything away from Charles Oliveira. He may submit Tony Ferguson every time they ever fought. But I don't feel like he should have been in there.
No, and he also cut weight twice for Gaethje, so he shot himself in the foot there. And, someone put it in the chat the other day, he ruined his career when he showed up for the TV interview and blew out his knee on the camera cable, which I still don't know how that happened.
The UFC promotion, hold on. The UFC, he has to do that because it's obligated. Like Tony Ferguson didn't just do that interview because he wanted to do that interview. That was part of his press obligation, No,
I know.
But ESPN or whoever it was that had that big ass wire there on the floor, and those wires are big.
Absolutely, they are. But I've been in TV for 25 years and I've never even tripped on one, let alone blown out my knee.
Well, you're lucky. No, it depends. It depends on how. It's a bizarre incident, right? I don't know what the lighting was in that room or what. It is a bizarre incident, but it's not Tony's fault. It's not like he showed up there and said, "Oh, I'm going to step on this wire and ruin $1 million payday for myself."
No. And
it
all
was
those
just
Khabib fights that didn't happen, there were different reasons. I think that fight was just cursed. And, it's too bad. And I don't want to discount Tony either, but I don't put him at the top of the division. I don't put Oliveira at the top of the division. I have Gaethje up there, not just because of the wins he had, but his performances and his losses. He had Alvarez beat. He literally had Poirier, not on the ropes because it's not boxing, but you know what I'm saying. So the Poirier-Gaethje fight was unbelievable. I would love to see that rematch. If Dustin loses this fight, I want to see Poirier-Gaethje too. I know both of those guys would do it. That's the direction I would go in. So Conor wins. You see Poirier-Gaethje too. Conor Khabib in a perfect world. Then you got the Hooker-Chandler winner sitting out there to fight a Ferguson, to fight, maybe an Oliveira. Maybe the Hooker-Chandler winner in that scenario gets Oliveira, but they have a lot of options at the top of this division, Jeff. So many with the UFC. We got a ton of people on the chat. I want to catch up on some of them. Mig DeFig says Khabib is a ground-crawling rat. So I guess he's a Conor fan. You have something between your teeth. I don't know if you can see between my teeth. I don't know if it's me or not. We'll see. Conor would smash Gaethje up, maybe, although I'd love to see that fight. We've talked about it, Jeff. The Lion King says Poirier is a great fighter, but not a king like McGregor. Let's see. Put something intelligent there, guys. And, yeah, whoever says Logan Paul will win against Mayweather. Let's see. I got one more to read, a couple more to read here, Jeff. Let me see. What time is the match? Where are you in the world? You're going to just look it up. Google it. It's at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific tomorrow night.
Yeah, the main event will usually go off around midnight Eastern time. That's usually about the time you see them. That main event happen. But I did want to go back because what I think is going to happen, the co-main event I think means a lot. I think if Chandler loses that, we see Gaethje and Chandler next. Both of them coming off of a loss. Both champions outside of the UFC. I think that's the fight.
Outside of the UFC. I'd love that. That would be great. You wouldn't want Gaethje Poirier too. You would want to see Chandler Gaethje.
Well, I'm just saying, I think Chandler has to lose before they put him in there with Gaethje. I'm saying that Saturday night has a ton of implications. I think if Chandler loses that, then you put him and Gaethje in there, both coming off of losses, and let them throw down. But the UFC isn't wanting to just throw. Like I said, they have plans for Michael Chandler. They wouldn't have put him as a backup for a title fight and wouldn't put him as a co-main event on a Conor McGregor pay-per-view in his first UFC fight if they didn't have big plans for that kid.
Yeah, and remember, Bellator had the right to match any deal, and I'm pretty sure I remember this correctly, that Chandler got. So maybe there was some language that he would get a title fight or be in the conversation for a title fight in the UFC quicker or something like that. So I don't know. I think literally, Jeff, when you think about this division, we're going to have a ton of answers tomorrow night. I mean, literally, those two fights are going to determine everything. Oliveira sitting there watching. His people are saying he deserves a title shot right now. I could not. And I repeat, could not, and I vehemently mean that I could not disagree more. I think he needs to beat someone in the top 3 first before he gets a title shot. I think that Gaethje deserves one first if Khabib's gone. I think that Chandler deserves one before Oliveira if he wins because he's been a champion in another promotion and there's more sizzle on that fight. I think that maybe, possibly, Oliveira would deserve one over Hooker for sure, but anybody else I would put in a title fight over him. And I just think he needs to beat someone at the top of the rankings first. But there's so many different possibilities and scenarios based on these two fights. And look, Hooker gets better every time out. For Hooker to push Poirier all 5 rounds and literally take everything Dustin had in every element of mixed martial arts in every discipline in that fight. We saw striking, we saw grappling, we saw a little bit of everything. And Hooker was right there with Dustin till the end. So he might destroy Michael Chandler. And people love it. Fighters love it. So many guys turned down the fight with Chandler. And Hooker said, hey, I would love to welcome him to the UFC. And I would love to rain on that parade. So give Hooker props there. That's going to be a violent fight. The way those two guys throw down in the octagon, Chandler-Hooker is going to be a violent scrap. That, to me, I can't wait. If that were a main event, I would be excited for it. And then you have McGregor and Poirier. But when I think about Michael Chandler, his aggression, his violent striking, his wrestling is fantastic. And Hooker is just such a tough dude who can do a little bit of everything. But his striking is next level, as we saw in the Poirier fight and coming out of City Kickboxing. Of course it's going to be training with Izzy and Volkanovski. But when I think about that fight, either one of those guys could be the champ by the end of the year. Conor or Poirier could be the champ by the end of the year. Gaethje or Oliveira could be the champ by the end of the year. All these possibilities exist, and all these guys are capable of being a champion.
Yeah, and the way I look at these matchups, and I look at things differently because I know that a lot of people are like, does he deserve this? And who has he beaten? Look, I look at it as how do you promote the fight, right? Charles Oliveira is an easy promotion. He's got the longest winning streak in the division, period. That's how you promote that fight.
Right now.
Yeah, and for Chandler, you're promoting the way that they do. He's a former champion, former Bellator, 3-time Bellator champion. And so that's the way I look at it is how's the UFC going to build the fight, right? And Oliveira, they build simply in the lightweight division, in a division with Poiriers and McGregors and Khabibs. Charles Oliveira is on the longest winning streak. That's how, and the reason why I say that is because that's how they promoted Tony, right? Before Tony lost, that's how the UFC promoted. He's got the longest winning streak in the division. So they're just going to do the same thing for Oliveira now.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I can't wait to see. And someone put up the possibility in the chat too, Jeff, and keep the thoughts coming, guys. These are the weigh-in footage from Gaethje versus Poirier. I was at that fight in Phoenix. What an unbelievable, and it's Gaethje's home state in Arizona, and just an incredible environment and atmosphere. One of the best fights I've seen, both of them trading and going back and forth. Poirier's a gamer, man. He's been in some battles, in some wars, and come out on top in most of them. But when I think about the possibility, someone put it in the chat, of Conor versus Hooker, talk about a red panty night. There you go for Hooker right there. But Poirier, if he loses to Conor and Hooker beats Chandler, and we see Conor versus Hooker, that might end up being one of the best fights we could ever lay eyes on.
Yeah, that'll be, like I said, the possibilities. The division is so much more interesting with Khabib gone. It is. And I keep saying that. I know that sounds nuts, but man, once you remove Khabib, everything is possible. If Khabib's still in there, then all we're talking about is Conor and Khabib rematch. So I think the division's actually deeper and more interesting with Nurmagomedov out of it.
Yeah, and I like what Brian Medina said. People overrate Charles. He's been finished a bunch of times and shows he doesn't have heart if he's taking damage, doesn't like damage. I'm not saying he doesn't have heart. I'm saying that he needs to beat someone at the very top. And right now, I don't put Tony Ferguson at the very top. The way he was beat down by Justin Gaethje, the way he performed against Oliveira, I think it's more of a reflection on Ferguson's career at this point than it is on Oliveira's. Now, shoot me for saying it if you want. Let me have it, whatever. That's my thought, and that's what I believe. Honestly, 100%. I don't think Tony's anywhere near Dustin and Gaethje and those guys' level. Now, is Conor McGregor? There's the question, Jeff. You said it earlier in the show. Where is Conor McGregor's level right now? Is he at the top of that division? Is he at the top of any division? We're going to find out really quickly on Saturday night because the possibility exists that Dustin Poirier runs right through him. I mean, there's that possibility. So what happens to the notorious hype train if Dustin Poirier runs right through him and finishes him easily, which is a distinct possibility? Look, Conor's got 46 seconds in the octagon. 46 seconds in over 2 years, right? And think about it, only 2 fights at 55. And Poirier is a tried and true lightweight he was at 45 years ago, but he's been at lightweight forever now. He destroyed Max Holloway at lightweight. He earned himself that interim belt at lightweight. He destroyed Eddie Alvarez. I mean, the fighters who he's beaten are a world-class list. It's a who's who. Conor does not have that resume at 55. Does it mean anything once they get in there and lock the door? No, it doesn't. It's the style. It's the game plan. It's how each guy's going to respond to what the other guy's doing and impose their will in that fight. Those things matter more, Jeff. But if you're looking at and you've said this, their track record and what they've done over the past few years and in this division, you'd have to give that advantage clearly to Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, I mean, Poirier is a more accomplished lightweight fighter for sure. But going back to the Oliveira not having any heart comment, people see what they want to see, right? Because I can say Conor McGregor's given up every time he's faced adversity, and he has, and so people got to be careful in seeing things that they want to see. Oliveira is not the dude's ranked number 6 in the world. He just took out Tony Ferguson. Oliveira is a badass. I don't know why people want to downplay Oliveira. But people see what they want to see. You know what I'm saying? Conor McGregor is absolutely a very dangerous, maybe the most dangerous striker in the division. But if we're going to start saying things like people don't have heart and everything, then let's start applying it to everybody across the board. Who in the lightweight division at the top has been broken mentally? Conor McGregor has twice. Has Poirier? Has he been broken mentally in a fight?
Mentally in a fight, I think Conor broke him mentally to get that finish in the first fight. Yeah, I think he did. I think he got in his head to that degree, but not during a fight. I think you're talking during a fight. Was he broken mentally? I think he was beaten mentally before he got in there, but I think it's different than what you're asking. And I think what you're asking, the answer is no, he hasn't.
Yeah. And yes, I agree with Oliveira has accepted bad positions and accepted a loss. And I don't like to see that, out of a fighter. I agree with that. But I'm just saying we should apply that to all those people. Has Tony Ferguson been beaten mentally into a fight? I have to say, I don't know. Even before they stopped that Gaethje fight, it seemed like he was still willing to fight. And so I don't, we've got to. I just want to apply it evenly across the board. Whenever we say something about Conor, then let's apply that to Poirier. Let's apply it to Gaethje. Let's apply it to Chandler. And let's apply it to all of them. And it's not us. It's a chat in the chat room that we're not holding some fighters to a different standard than other fighters. If we're going to say,
you're getting called a McGregor hater, Jeff. You're getting bashed right now as a McGregor. But I will say this: Conor did overcome a lot of adversity. He did overcome a lot of adversity in Diaz too. You can't take that away from him. And he did overcome a whole hell of a lot of adversity in the Mendes fight. I mean, Mendes literally had him on the ground, pounding on him, and he gassed out, and Conor was able to get the win. But Conor McGregor faced adversity in those two fights and went right through it. And he faced, if you want to call it adversity against Mayweather, he took the best boxer of our lifetime, or maybe Floyd carried him, whatever you want to say, deep into that fight. But I think you're right, Jeff. It is a slippery slope, and it is dangerous to say that any fighter quit in a fight. And remember, this was supposed to be Oliveira versus Chandler. Oliveira said he couldn't make weight. I call BS. I think he's holding out for a title shot. I would not give him that title shot until he beats someone at the top of the rankings. He had an opportunity to have the fight against Michael Chandler. He said he couldn't make weight. Hooker takes the fight. Oliveira does not deserve a title shot right now, in my opinion. But this is it speaks to the depth and the overall talent, Jeff, of that division, that we can sit here for hours, literally days, and talk about the possibilities and make legitimate arguments for and against every fighter and his title chances, because this division is so deep and so talented. Right now, the number one division, Michael Chandler said it on Embedded, the toughest and number one and most hyped, most talked about division in the sport.
Yeah. And I'm fine being called a McGregor hater because I understand the way the sports work and politics work, right? As soon as I hold Conor to the same standard that we hold everybody else, I'm all of a sudden a hater. Maybe I could flip that around and say you guys are all Charles Oliveira haters. I'm not hating on Conor because I'm just putting him at the same standard as everybody else. Let's look at his losses. Let's look at what he's done. Has he given up in fights? Does he have the heart that people are criticizing Oliveira of not having? That's all. I'm just holding him to the same standard as everybody else. If that makes me a hater, then so be it.
So be it. But we never quit during a show, Jeff. We never quit. We literally bring it strong to the end of every show. Let me just reset it here, man. The chat room is going crazy. I want to read some of them in a minute. Keep them coming, guys. This is so much freaking fun sitting here with Jeff Kane and all you guys on MMA Weekly waiting for the biggest fight maybe of the year in the UFC. Even though it's only January, who knows what'll happen? Conor, Khabib, whatever. Last year around this time, we thought we'd see Conor McGregor 3-4 more times. None of us thought we were going to see the world shut down for COVID. But this is MMA Weekly's live coverage of UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2. It's powered by CBD Emporium featuring Level Select CBD. Go to cbdemporium.com/Level Select MMA. Enter code MMA50. That's MMA50 at cbdemporium.com/Level Select MMA. You get 50% off your CBD Emporium and Level Select CBD, the same brand used by Triple C, Henry Cejudo, and by me. Unbelievable brand. I'll tell you what, Level Select CBD. Stay in the fight. So maybe Henry should live that tagline and stay in the fight. I want to see Triple C fight again this year. But man, Jeff, it really is. I mean, we are literally divided right down the middle in the chat about Conor and Khabib. This is what tends to happen when Conor fights. A lot of people don't talk about his opponent. Dustin Poirier is about as dangerous a fighter as you're going to find in the world. He's as good as anybody you're going to find in the world. Remember, this is a guy who had a choke sunk in against Khabib, and give props to Khabib for escaping, reversing, and choking him out himself. Maybe, and don't put Rage Now on this group. I love Rage Now, but so I want to say that maybe Poirier fought Khabib tougher than anybody did. He certainly, in my opinion, fought him better than Conor did.
Yeah, I mean, matchups, we got to MMA math's a funny thing. Matchups, how Poirier did against Khabib and how Conor did against Khabib have nothing to do with how they're going to do against each other, as we've seen, because Conor's already knocked out Poirier. it's MMA math's a weird thing, but yeah, Poirier's a well-rounded fighter. He's tough. He's well-rounded, and he did lose to McGregor at 145. In the Gaethje fight, Poirier took big shots. He absorbed big shots. And so I question whether or not the dehydration and cutting down to 145 didn't make him more susceptible to getting knocked out. And now that he's back up to a natural weight class without, and the fluid around his brain intact when he steps into the octagon, that maybe he can absorb more damage now. There's a ton of things to consider about this fight, man. But Poirier could absolutely come out here and beat Conor by submission. I think he could knock Conor out. I think if Conor wins, it's going to be by knockout.
Shihab El Sheikh says, I feel like Poirier was a little off mentally in the face-off. He just didn't seem so confident, seems too emotionally involved. Jeff, you said you can read into a lot when you see the weigh-ins. Well, now's your chance, man. You've been waiting all week. What did you see in the weigh-ins today?
I didn't see anything that I didn't read that into it. I just felt like I didn't read anything. Like they both looked fine. They neither one of them I felt were emotional whenever they were in the face-off. I didn't get a good read on it. I'll say that. I felt like the first time that they fought, Poirier was absolutely energized and emotionally invested. This time it wasn't like the first time. And so I didn't really I don't know what to think about that. I was kind of wanting to see Conor, and I'll admit that I was more looking at Conor to see what is Conor going to do any antics. Is he going to do anything? Is he going to, feint like he's going to punch him? Is he going to point at him and start talking mad stuff? We just didn't see that, And so I'll admit that I was mainly looking at Conor because he's the one that's been inactive. He's the one that I'm more worried about than Poirier. I know what we're going to get out of Poirier. Poirier's been active for his entire career. It was Conor that I was looking at, and I didn't see anything to make me think that Conor's not ready for this fight.
No, and I definitely think that, Conor McGregor is relaxed. He's poised. Mm-hmm. He's legitimately, and people who think he's doing it for a payday, Conor McGregor could get a payday doing anything in the world he wants to do. This is not for a payday. He could box. He could do anything. And we'll hear a lot about that after this fight, I'm sure, as you look at the two fighters before the first fight. Big difference, 45 to 55. Conor was a monster at 45. I mean, he just was way too big for all those guys in that division at that point in time. People saying Conor's never really been rocked. Diaz rocked him pretty good. Who would I put my money on? Chris Ruglin wants to know. If I were putting my money down on this fight, I would bet Conor McGregor, and I would parlay it with a finish, with a TKO. And that would be the way to make money on Conor. And I believe Conor is going to win this fight by knockout or TKO. I just believe that until someone proves otherwise, when they fight Conor McGregor, that's what we're going to see. And I know people say, hey, Diaz, but Conor was fighting up a weight class, short notice up at 170. That one doesn't really, in my opinion, count for all that much because of those circumstances leading up to it. And he avenged the loss. That's the second part. The Khabib fight, Conor says he came in hurt. He didn't take it as seriously. Everybody says that. Look, Khabib destroyed him. And he did rock him. Conor got rocked by Khabib. So anyone who says Conor's never been rocked, you forget the eagle has landed that overhand right on Conor McGregor in that fight, which was the biggest shot Conor McGregor's ever taken in the octagon.
Yeah, I mean, he set him down. Was Conor out? No. I think it was a flash knockdown, right? He got sit down on his ass, but he got right back up. But the reason why he got right back up is because you better get back up with Khabib, or he's just going to get on top of you, and that's right where you don't want to be. I felt like we saw him rocked at the end of the Mayweather fight. He was taking shot after shot after shot. His legs weren't there.
Conor and Jeff. Conor is MJ on the Wizards at this point. Tom G. MJ on the Wizards was still like 22 points a game, though. I'll say that about Michael Jordan at 41 years old.
Look, I'm not discrediting Conor McGregor. What I'm saying is the guy hasn't been active enough for me to evaluate where he is in his career right now. And I'll know tomorrow. I'll know where he is tomorrow. I do know where Dustin Poirier is. Like I said, I'm trying to approach this as on the things that I know. The things that I know is Poirier's been active and Conor hasn't. I haven't seen Conor in there against the top guys in the division. I have seen Poirier in there in the top guys division. That's not hating on Conor. That's just the facts of it.
Jeff wants Conor to lose. Just admit it. Jeff wants Conor to lose. Just admit it. Jeff hates Conor. Jeff, you're a hater. Conor loves Jeff. I make the same whether Conor wins or loses, guys. I could care less if Conor McGregor wins or loses. I've got no dog in that fight. Geez, Jeff, can you just admit you want Conor to lose? And Joseph
I'll
Mills
say
says
this.
true.
I'll
And,
say this.
Jeff is not,
If I'm-
he doesn't root for or against anyone. He does not want
Yeah.
Conor to lose. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'll say this: if I'm putting my money on this fight, the money to be made is Poirier by submission with 1,100 minus or plus 1,100 odds for Poirier to submit Conor McGregor. That's where the money is.
That's where the money is. Keep those chat room comments coming and flying, guys. This is great. MMA Weekly live coverage of UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2, powered by CBD Emporium, featuring Level Select CBD. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Jeff Kane, the wily veteran of MMA Weekly. All these guys have been there for 18 years. It's crazy. And, someone says, clown, Jordan went head-to-head with Kobe when he was on the Wizards at 40. That's true. And I do want to say one thing, completely unrelated to MMA, just real quick. Jeff, R.I.P. Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron for a long time, the all-time home run king, and just an awful thing anytime a legend like that passes away. But Hank Aaron, Hammer and Hank, and the things that he went through in his career, he dies today at 86 years of age. And in a year where we had all the Black Lives Matter stuff and all the he pursuing Babe Ruth's home run record, almost inhuman, just like Jackie Robinson. So RIP to the legend in so many different ways, Hammer and Hank Aaron.
I have met Hank Aaron, and yeah, man, Hank Aaron's an absolute legend, and what he was able to do, and against all the odds, right? Because I mean, it was like when I talked about the Bonds home run thing versus the McGuire one, and how everybody threw to McGuire, and Bonds kept getting walked 4 times a game. So for what Hank Aaron did was twice as hard as what Babe Ruth did, because they didn't pitch to Hank. They didn't pitch to him. They didn't want him to get that record. And they didn't want Bonds to get that record. And so, yeah, man, I'm a big fan of Hank Aaron. It is a sad day. He lived a full life, though, 84, good run. But, yeah, it's always sad to see a legend like that depart us.
So here's a question for you, getting back to the fights. McGregor will smash Poirier, but could only just keep up with Hooker. Interesting comment there.
Oh. Ooh. No, maybe we'll get to see. Maybe we'll get to see that statement play out. Depends on what happens tomorrow. I don't know. It's hard to say until you put these guys in there. I mean, really, it's just hard to say until you put them in there. Because we see, like I said, we see things that we want to see. We see Conor landing that shot, knocking somebody out in her head, because we've seen that so many times. But in reality, when you put him in there against somebody, he might not match up well at all. He might be the one getting beat to the punch in the exchanges. And until you put him in there, you just don't know. But Conor's
Jeff,
not slow.
you got some love coming. You got some love coming, Jeff. Jeff is good TV from A. Brandon. I agree 100%. The first time we did a show, I said, we got something here. Jeff is good TV. And then Shihab El-Sheikh says, Jeff, I'm a Conor supporter. We don't hate you. You're doing awesome. Don't let those ignorant other fans put you down. And one thing I know for sure about my partner, Jeff Kane, although we've only known each other a few months and done a few shows together, he's not going to let what anybody thinks affect him any possible way. That I'm pretty confident in saying, Jeff.
Yeah. Look, I don't hate any of these people in the sport. I mean, look, like we talked about Kobe Covington the other day. I don't like some things that Kobe Covington says. I don't care if Kobe wins or loses fights. I really and truly don't wish people to lose, except every now and then I'll want to see somebody get shut up and humbled. But it has nothing to do with them. It just, it's like, man, maybe somebody needs to shut this guy up one time. And usually the universe steps in and makes sure that happens.
Is like a Key Blinders. It's a British TV series. Snarky. Oh my God, this is funny. I love this, Jeff. I could do this all day. We have some more. I want to read some more comments out of the chat. Jeff just thinks Conor has a left hand, probably didn't watch any of his fights. Yeah, because a guy who's been covering the UFC for 18 years and done more interviews with the biggest fighters and guys like Dana than all of us put together. Yeah, he didn't watch Conor McGregor's fights, guys. But Conor has a lot of tools in his toolbox. He's got everything going for himself right now. But we're talking about the best fighters in the world, and we're talking about a long layoff. I think that was pretty funny. But, Jeff, you're getting a lot of comments. People are, like, on your side. They're against you here. Conor has done no mental warfare this game. There's a good one. Conor has done no mental warfare this fight. How do you guys think it will affect Poirier this time? Does this make Poirier more dangerous? I think the mental warfare broke Poirier before the fight last time. I don't think it would happen this time. but I actually think the mental warfare got to be too much for Conor McGregor. I think he kind of he did so much of it that it actually affected him more than his opponent. And I think that he's matured, and his whole outlook, his whole mentality, mindset coming into this fight, Jeff, is so much different on purpose for his own sake.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you do what he was doing, you're putting the pressure on yourself, right? I mean, because not only do I have to live up to winning this fight, now he has to live up to knocking out Poirier in a minute. You know, I mean, if he doesn't do that, then he didn't live up to what he said he was going to do. And so he puts pressure on himself. But I don't think there's any mental warfare in this fight because it isn't going to work. They've been in there with each other. You know, that they've already been in there with each other. Poirier's heard everything Conor has to say. Conor's heard everything Poirier's had to say. They've already fought. Conor knocked him out. You know, there's nothing really left to say. Poirier's going to say, I'm going to get back. I'm going to get avenged for that loss. And Conor's going to say, I'm going to knock you out. You know, the place, there's not the room for smack talk in this fight isn't as much as it was in other fights. Although you could hear Conor just keep saying over and over, I knocked you out. I don't even know why you're here. You know, he could take that angle, but Conor's not. But I also think that's because Conor has lost. Conor has been humbled. You know, we're seeing a different Conor McGregor. He's been lost. He's had losses, and he's been humbled, and so he isn't going to go that route anymore. Except he might have to go that route if he ever wants to fight Khabib again.
No warfare against Cerrone, but 1 in 40 seconds. But Jeff will probably say Donald was at retirement age.
Well, Donald definitely wasn't in his prime. I mean, I'll say
no,
that.
he was
Donald
drinking beers the night before, according to a friend of mine who saw him out. I'm not saying it's for sure, but a friend of mine saw him out and said he was drinking Budweisers the night before. But again, he's probably always drank Budweisers the night before a fight.
Yeah. I mean, Conor, that was a good win. Conor looked good. So no, is Donald Cerrone at the peak of his career? Absolutely not. Is he on the decline of his career? 100%. But it's still a good win. But Conor treated Cowboy the way he should have treated him. You know, had that fight went to a decision, I'd be like, oh my God. You know, Conor went to a decision with Cowboy Cerrone at this point in Cowboy's career, but he went out there and, you know, did exactly what he's supposed to do. He beat the crap out of Cowboy.
Jeff, if Jeff slurps any more from his bottle, it'll be him that gets picked up off the floor. Callum Mack. With a name like Callum, he's got to be a McGregor fan.
Yeah, it's sweet tea. I would put it on air, but they're not paying me. So it is sweet tea.
One bucket of Conor McTapper, please. For Jeff.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
Jeff, this is great. They love you. We need this in our lives.
It's bad, man. It's bad. We'll see what happens tomorrow night, man. I mean, Conor does have punching power, and people are, you know, that comment that Jeff only thinks Conor has a left hand. That's the only thing I've seen him win with, you know.
Now, here's one for you.
Chuck Liddell had more than a right hand, but we only saw him win with a right hand.
There is the Iceman's trunks just over Jeff's right shoulder to your left. You see the blue there in the corner. Hassan Aziz says, believe me when I tell you, there is no fighter for Khabib except Oliveira, technically speaking. Agree, Jeff? Disagree? What do you? You've said this a couple times that Oliveira would probably be the best matchup.
I think it's the most dangerous, man. I think he has the best chance of winning. You know, I think that Conor's going to get taken down. Poirier's going to get taken down. We already saw what happened with Gaethje. I'm not really for Hooker and Chandler. We've got to see what they do tomorrow night. Chandler could be an interesting fight, but if the fight goes to the ground with Oliveira, that gets really interesting. And Oliveira has the reach advantage and stuff. I think the Khabib would have to take him down, and then you just enter in. I think it's the most interesting matchup. I don't know that he has the best chance of winning, but it's the most interesting matchup in my mind.
I love how Conor pulled up in a yacht, by the way. Someone saw that's amazing. Shirtless through, you know, whatever their form of immigration was, and came in the Versace pants right off a yacht. But that's Conor McGregor, man. And I want to change gears a little bit. And I would assume we're just going to keep this going. We got so much going in the chat. We should probably stick around for a while longer. But this is something that I have to talk about on this show. Okay? I have to, because this might be literally the dumbest, stupidest human walking God's green earth. Until I have the explanation, I don't know for sure. But what about Ottman Azaitar and what he just did, Jeff? He is 13-0, about to face Matt Frivola on a Conor McGregor fight card, and he and his team, he's a German/Moroccan lightweight with 10 career knockouts. He's a lightweight, okay? violation of the health and safety protocols of the W Hotel in Abu Dhabi. Dana White told BT Sport that his security team identified an unauthorized individual entering the fighter hotel with a wristband provided by his team, by Ottman's team, and delivered a bag to the fighter's room. So they cut their wristbands off like they were 18 years old, trying to sneak into a 21 and over club, or trying to sneak into like EDC or Lollapalooza or something to get on Fight Island when you're 13-0 and you're fighting on a Conor McGregor. Are you freaking kidding me, dude? Are you? Oh my God, Jeff, this kind of stupidity is literally world class.
Well, just that kind of selfishness. He put the entire fight card at risk. Why? Why? And not to mention, like you said, he is 13-0. He is 13-0. He's fought twice in the UFC. Both were knockouts, and he got performance of the night bonuses. He was going somewhere. He had a future in the UFC, and now he's done. He's done because he put the entire fight card, the entire UFC staff, and everyone at risk because he was an idiot. And hopefully it was just a teammate. You know, I do hope that for him. I hope it was a teammate that did it, and Dana's just doing a blanket statement right now and getting rid of the whole damn team right now and getting them all out of Abu Dhabi. I hope it wasn't him. But if it was him, then he gets what he deserves. But yes, he put everyone at risk. He put the main event at risk. He put a pay-per-view card, the first pay-per-view of the year, at risk. For what? What was in the bag?
And he's gone. Azaitar, they fired him on the spot. They fired him, kicked him out. He's done.
Yeah. Which tells me, I want to hear the whole story because it could have just been a teammate, and I do know how Dana will deal with that. He'll fire every one of you and get every one of you out of there, and then later on, maybe he's not the one that gave the wristband. But Dana and them know something that we don't know. You know, they're there. I want to know what the hell she's bringing up there, or he. You know, who do you give your wristbands to? And then they're bringing a bag to your room. What the hell's in the bag? And then what did you need so badly that you're willing to break protocol and put everybody's health at risk so you could get this thing delivered to your room? I mean, there's a lot of questions.
He shimmied across 4 balconies to bring the bag to his room. What the hell was he sneaking in? Is he injecting himself with something? Is he taking steroids? Is he taking PEDs? I mean, he's not going to get away with that anyway. What in the hell is he bringing into the room, shimmying across 4 balconies and sneaking in with a wristband they cut off and taped? What the hell is going on here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's tons of questions. What's in the bag? That's what I want to know. That's the first question I'm asking Dave, which is crazy, right? Because we got Conor McGregor fighting in the main card. That's the first question I'm asking him at the post-fight press conference. I'm not asking him about McGregor. I'm not asking him about Khabib. I want to know what the hell was in the bag. What was in the bag? What was so important that you snuck in to the UFC hotel, shimmied across 4 balconies to deliver? What the hell was in there? You know, I'm guessing it wasn't.
It had to have been some sort of substance. It had to have been a substance, Jeff. What else could it be? Drugs or PEDs?
I don't know. You know, I don't want to speculate, but it does seem like it's something that they were hiding, right? It does seem like it's.
And it had to have been for him, Azaitar. It probably wasn't even for him because he's getting tested for everything. So if he got fired from the UFC for sneaking someone in with his wristbands and then shimmying across balconies to his room to deliver it, odds are it probably wasn't even for him because he's being tested for everything that could have been in that bag. What if it's a gun and he's going to kill someone? I mean, I don't even know. This is ridiculous.
Well, yeah. I don't want to speculate what's in the bag, you know, but I want to know what's in it. And I think the UFC PR should be telling us what's in it. And I'm sure that we'll see statements. You know, right now we're not going to hear much about this because we're going to focus, the promotion itself is going to focus on the pay-per-view. This probably won't be revisited until the post-fight press conference. And then Dana's going to get the questions on it and you're going to hear him unload like he does. But that's just, it's unfortunate that someone who had so much promise made such a bonehead, stupid decision. And there's only one way to deal with it. You have to fire him and never bring him back. Because like I said, he put everyone at risk. He put all the fighters at risk, the cornermen, the judges, the UFC staff, everyone at risk out of what? For what? And that's what I want to know. For what?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine, Jeff, if the whole fight card had been canceled because of that action? Can you just imagine the ramifications, the possibilities, if all of a sudden everyone starts testing positive? I mean, you got to be kidding me. They're stupid. There's special kinds of stupid. And then there's this kind of stupid, way above every other level of stupid.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't want to speculate. It sounds that, but those are actions of desperation, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Those are actions of desperation.
What was in the bag, Jeff? What do you think
what
was in the
hell
bag?
was in the bag? Exactly.
I want to
don't want to
speculate. This is what we
speculate.
do.
I
We're
don't
TV
want to
guys.
speculate. Let the commenters speculate. Let's let the
Weed,
comment speculate, and we'll talk about
steroids, but there wasn't a girl in there. How big was the bag?
it. Exactly. What the hell was in the bag? Right? I don't know, man. I'll say this: that's the actions of an addict, right? I mean, that's crazy to take those risks. I do not want to speculate, though. But I'm just saying, whenever you take those risks, and then how many floors up's the balcony? Like, if you're doing that on the second floor, okay. If you're doing that on the 16th floor, then holy shit, what's in the bag?
Was is his wife there? Is he married? Was his girlfriend there? Because it's either something like that or something that a guy would do for a female, because only a female would get you to do something like that. No disrespect, ladies, but we've all done stupid shit for women before, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that the mentality you'd have to be in for that, you're either trying to hide something from everyone, which means that you don't want to admit to it, or you're an addict.
Trevor Wade says, if Jeff had a choice, ... to find out what's in the bag or to say Conor can be champion again, he would choose the bag every time.
That's true, Trevor. I would choose the bag every time.
Jeff, they love you. This is amazing.
Yeah,
what a great time.
I wanted to know.
Dana celebrated Khabib returning. No, I don't know. It's not my bag, baby. What's in the bag? Some good kush, someone says. I don't know about that. Would you shimmy across 4 balconies for some good kush? Some sort of maybe illegal pain relief or performance or something? I don't know. Good Lord. Man, this is just...
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the hell's in the bag.
How do you think you're not going to get caught?
But the UFC just lessened the threshold for marijuana, right? You could smoke weed and fight in the UFC, basically. So if it was that, it wouldn't even be a big deal. Like if you caught him on the balcony smoking weed, that's not going to eliminate that fight from happening. Not now, a year ago or 2 years ago, 100%. But now in today's world, that isn't even going to. So weed's off the table for me. Booze is off the table because they can just get that at the hotel, right?
They can get it at the hotel. They're at the W, for God's sake. They can get whatever they want. So Callum says Jeff needs to put a mask on and social distance from the whiskey, LOL. And the reason I read that one, Jeff, is because Callum needs to get it right. You live in Kentucky. It's bourbon.
Yes. Bourbon.
Right? Bourbon in Kentucky, whiskey in Tennessee.
But what I'm drinking is sweet tea. And like I said, I would show you exactly what it is and the label, but they're not paying me. And I refuse to promote anybody that's not paying me, which is why I don't promote Conor. No, I'm
What if you're on the payroll like the MacLife guy, asking him questions at press conferences?
Conor's the greatest fighter ever. He's going to kill everybody.
But Conor, I mean, everything goes out the window with Conor. He's got his own media guy asking him questions at what is supposed to be a legitimate press conference. He's got his logo on the canvas while he's fighting and on the cage pad. All the rules go out the window with Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is the best comment of all time, Jeff. I have to read this. Sorry for my Tourette's outburst there. Jesse Bowman says a replacement leg for Sean O'Malley was in the bag. Because oh my God, that's amazing.
See, this is why we asked the chat, because they can speculate all they want.
Man.
They're not going to get any backlash for speculating. All I'm saying is that the risk that it took to do that, you're hiding something pretty big, and like I said, that's kind of the shit you see an addict do.
I hope it wasn't what was in Justin Timberlake's box. Jeff, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Someone made me think about that when they put the Brad Pitt quote from Seven. What's in the box?
Yeah, exactly. What's in the bag? That's the big question now. What's in the bag? I want to know what's in the bag. I don't even care about Conor and Poirier right now. I want to know what's in the bag.
I want to know what's in the bag for this dumbass to get kicked out of the UFC at 13-0, fighting on a Conor McGregor card. Jeff, where was his fight on the card? They already took it off the event.
It was the second fight. It was the second fight
on the main card, right? Oh my God.
So the before the Hebus fight, the ladies kicked off the main card, and it was the next fight. It was the second fight on the main card.
Wow. So now Sanchez and Muradov moves up, and Rodriguez and Hebus, and then I and Calderwood, and then Hooker, Chandler, and Poirier. You're on the main card of a Conor McGregor pay-per-view. So let's read this comment here. I want to be like Jeff when I grow up. So do I. Absolutely,
Me
for
too.
the record. I want to drink sweet tea and have everybody think it's whiskey.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing, Jeff.
I don't like whiskey,
Joe
man,
Biden
so.
was asleep in the bag. This is getting better. Joe Biden was asleep in the bag. Hey,
Don't tell him
listen,
what's in the bag.
what's the over-under on how many naps a day Joe Biden's going to take? I mean, this is ridiculous. I just do a freaking, I mean, good Lord.
I don't know. Biden could be energetic. I don't know.
You have to be alive to run for a second term. I don't even understand. This is MMA Weekly's live coverage of UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2. I could say that 1,000 times. Poirier, powered by CBD Emporium, featuring Level Select CBD. Go to cbdemporium.com/Level Select MMA. Enter code MMA50 to be like Jeff and I. Get 50% off Level Select or CBD Emporium products today. Level Select CBD. Stay in the fight. What's in the bag? What's in the bag? What's in the bag? What was in the bag?
Yeah.
We need to find out.
Just change the name of the event. UFC 257. What's in the bag? That's what I'm changing the whole.
I mean, anything that takes the attention away from Conor McGregor. Who has ever taken the attention off of Conor McGregor on one of Conor's fights? This is the first time.
That damn bag. That bag. I want to know what was in that bag too.
This is the best comment of the whole show, by the way. Here's the best comment. KB says, "Shut up, Jim." That's the best comment of the whole show.
Triple C was in the bag. Oh my God! I'm not even going to read that one. I'm not going to read that one, man. They might get people.
Someone was in the bag.
Yeah, they're turning political, which is fine. But we don't have to repeat all that. They could. They're good jokes, though. You guys are coming strong in the chat.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Meanwhile, we got these fights, Jeff, tomorrow, and we're going to be streaming live MMA Weekly's exclusive coverage of UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2, powered by CBD Emporium, featuring Level Select CBD. Let me ask you this, Hooker and Chandler. We haven't talked a lot about this fight. Two absolute beasts, man. And we know Michael Chandler loves to bring the violence from the very beginning of the fight. Sometimes it works out great, like Benson Henderson, for example, in that fight. Sometimes it doesn't, like Patricio Pitbull last year. But we know he's going to look to inflict pain violently, aggressively, and very quickly. And on top of it, you're making your UFC debut. So if you're Mike Chandler, you got to watch that adrenaline a little bit here with that first UFC fight, even though he's fought a million fights and he's as much a veteran as a veteran could ever be.
Yeah, but there's nothing like I've heard fighters say this who's fought in other organizations, big organizations, Strikeforce, or even the WEC before it was folded over into the UFC, and in other promotions. And there's nothing like a UFC event, right? That there's nothing like when the lights go up and there's fans in the audience and millions and millions of people are watching. There's nothing like it. But Michael Chandler, he's a 3-time Bellator champion. He's been in big fights. He has wins. He has two wins over Benson Henderson. He has a win over Eddie Alvarez. So that's kind of our litmus test, right? We know the common opponent. He has a win over Eddie Alvarez, and so we kind of can slot him into the lightweight division a little bit off that alone. But I don't see Michael Chandler getting caught up in the gravity of the moment. That like this is going to be crazy for him. I think this is what he's been wanting, right? I think this is what he's been wanting for the last 2 years while he was in Bellator. This opportunity, and he finally got this opportunity.
And he finally got it. Yep.
So I think Chandler's going to be up for this. I think he's going to be pumped. And I agree with you, though. I think he has to worry about dumping that adrenaline early, right? And then having or suffering an adrenaline dump midway through the first round. Because that happens to everybody, right? That happens to almost everybody. It takes a lot of discipline to control when that adrenaline dump, man.
Do you think, I mean, obviously Oliveira would have been a great fight for Chandler too, and the grappling and the striking there with Oliveira, but I think Hooker's a great opponent for Chandler because he's not a championship level guy. I'm not a big fan of someone coming in and getting a title fight right away. The fact that he was the backup for Khabib and Gaethje, to me, that was more show than anything else because no one else was available to do it. But I also think that to put him in this position to get a title shot after this fight, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be out of the question. That's why they have him as the co-main. But to give him a title shot right away wouldn't have sat well with me with all the guys at the top of this division. Look, if he came in another division, like a 125 or even right now at a light heavyweight, maybe that would happen. Junior Diaz says the bag was pardoned. The bag was pardoned. Everyone else got a pardon. My Little Wayne got a pardon for endorsing Trump in November. Let's see. There was another great. Oh, you all wrong. It was John Jones hiding from USADA in the bag.
Oh.
Hashtag what's in the bag. Hashtag what's in the bag, guys.
What's
This
the
is
bag?
great.
Hashtag what's in the bag. Yeah,
Our
you know,
production guys
I
are going
don't.
to kill us because we're going to keep going.
Yeah,
But
they usually don't
it's
give
fun.
someone a title fight in their first fight. You know, would they have Fedor back in the day when Fedor was the Pride champion? Yes, 100%. There are certain
Yes.
fighters that they would, but Michael Chandler's not
Anybody
one of them.
now? Anybody now?
Anybody out there now?
Who would
You know,
immediately get a
people
UFC
are
title shot?
gonna fighting outside the UFC. Not that I. Well, what's the featherweight in Bellator who holds wins over him and Jan have actually fought.
Patricio Pitbull. He would be
Yeah.
one. Is that who you're talking
I mean,
about?
no, but that's definitely one who might get a title shot in his first fight if he were to come over. There's not many. That's what I'm saying. And those guys probably still wouldn't get a title fight in their first fight. You know, I was going to say Jake Paul, but that was a joke. That was a joke, everybody. I don't know who outside of Patricky and maybe it's their bantamweight champion. I mean, I forget. But he's literally, when you look at his record, he's fought the top guys in the world. He's beat them. You know, his only loss, I think, is to Jan. You know, and so I feel like but he doesn't have the name for it. You know, he doesn't have the name for it. Fedor had the name for it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that Pitbull has the name for it. You know, so I don't think anybody jumps into the UFC and gets a title fight unless it's somebody who's just so popular and so famous that you couldn't, like if Floyd Mayweather wanted to come and fight in the UFC, do you get him a title fight? Why not? You know, why not?
And Randall's comment there, this fight has been off. We said it 25 minutes ago that Dana broke the news that the fight was off. It wasn't ESPN that broke the news. They'll take credit for it. But it was BT Sport with Dana White on there where it actually got, the news was broken. And in today's broken world of journalism, everybody will claim to have broken the story. But Dana White breaks his own stories. Like, I mean, let's be honest, whoever he chooses to speak to at that moment is who's going to take credit for it. But Dana breaks the story.
Well, credit doesn't even mean anything anymore, right? I mean, that was something when there was newspapers where I broke the story and you couldn't break the story. Right now, it's just breaking news, right? I mean, Dana White says that fight's off while on the air with a network, and then we all break that news after that. Dana White broke that news. So the breaking of news is different now in the sports world than it was in the years past, right? Dana White broke some news, and then everybody reports it, right? I mean,
no, Randall, Dana broke it. ESPN did not break it. Dana broke it himself. ESPN is reporting it after the fact. There's a difference between breaking it and reporting it. And of course, Ottman has been cut from the fight. He's been cut from the UFC and fired for being a dumbass. And someone actually put a great comment up that said, these were in the bag, because it is Conor McGregor and it is red panty night for everyone who fights him. And by the way, these are new unworn in case anybody's wondering, and they're not mine. I should clarify, it is 2021, but this is the night that it is tomorrow night, Jeff. Conor McGregor is back, and we're not talking about Conor McGregor because of what's going on over there in Abu Dhabi. But, you know, you were talking about Mike Chandler and not wanting to have the adrenaline dump. Hooker had the big, long fight with Poirier, which is one that got him ready to compete with anyone on a world-class level, and he was already just about there. So this is no gimme for Chandler. This is a tough fight. This is a very tough fight. For both
I agree.
guys.
Yes, I agree. It's going to be it's going to be a beautiful lead into the main event, because that's going to be a war. Outside of somebody getting clipped early, that fight's going to be a war. We know what Hooker brings to the table. We know what Chandler brings to the table. We've seen both of them fight. To imagine that that matchup's that's got fight of the night written all over it. I mean, that has fight of the night written all over that matchup.
On a card with McGregor and Poirier. And think about this too, the karate hottie Michelle Watterson, one of my favorite fighters who I know pretty well, and her family, they had some family members come down with COVID, dealing with a lot of stuff out there in New Mexico. She was supposed to be on this card against Amanda Hebus, and Amanda Hebus is a girl who is literally, I mean, this is one to watch, Jeff. She is literally destroying people. She's on a 5-fight win streak. She literally escorted and submitted Paige Van Zandt out of the UFC. She's beaten Mackenzie Dern, and we know Mackenzie Dern has done real well in the UFC. Her only loss is to Amanda Hebus. So that's on the main card. That's a good fight. There's other fights on this card, you know, and now Andrew Sanchez and Muradov, they get an opportunity on the main card. with Ottman off and Hooker, Chandler, and McGregor. So it's not just the co-main and the main, and we tend to, get spoiled in the sport and not talk about it. But the Matt Frivola fight, now Matt Frivola is fighting Arman Tsarukyan, so there is a replacement for the dumbass who gave up his wristband and tried to sneak a bag in.
And see, that's another thing. Now his opponent, who has prepared for him to face him for the last 6 or 8 weeks with hours before the event, has to get a replacement opponent because his original opponent decided to smuggle some bag into the damn fighter hotel. It's like I said, it's just inconsiderate, it's unprofessional, and he should be cut from the UFC. But getting back to the ladies' fight, she's ranked 10th, but her opponent, Rodriguez, is ranked 8th. And she has wins over, Jessica Aguilar, Tisha Torres, Cynthia Calvillo, and her went to a draw. Yeah. I mean, that fight is going to be, that could be fight of the night as well, man, because the women typically don't finish each other, and so it's probably going to go the distance or end in a submission or whatever. That's a beautiful fight, man. That's a beautiful fight. You got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo going up against a person who has Muay Thai experience. It's just a good matchup all the way around.
Yeah, and I wonder, man, that this fight card, the more I can't wait. Just got on this card, and anytime you're on a McGregor fight card, and I joke around with the red panties, but it is one of those nights where you get the opportunity to become a star, to become a superstar with the world watching, and with a fight card like this, and this is a perfect place for the UFC to debut Michael Chandler. But how about this? Chandler comes in as the replacement for Khabib Gaethje. Ends up not fighting. He goes through the whole routine on Fight Island. He's been there before, been there, done that, experience with going through all the protocols with COVID and everything. And then he gets the co-main event in his first UFC fight. He gets the co-main on a McGregor card. Could you have imagined this any better? All those years you talked about, Michael Chandler wanted to be in the UFC. The fans wanted to see him here in the UFC. And he gets the co-main event with potentially a title shot looming if he wins on a McGregor card. Unbelievable.
Oh, this is what he's been building for. His whole career has led to this right now. This is his biggest, as crazy as it is, he's a 3-time Bellator champion. But Saturday's the biggest fight of his career, right? That could lead him to a UFC title fight. That's the champion of the world. That's the undisputed champion of the world. It's not the Bellator champion.
Not the Bellator
or at
champion.
least not now. No. At least not now. Will that change at some point? Who the hell knows? But right now, the UFC champion is the undisputed world champion. And so I think Michael Chandler, as odd as it is, because he's been in all these title fights, his co-main event non-title fight in his UFC debut is the biggest fight of his career against Dan Hooker.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone said, let me see where Shihab Al-Sheikh says, Jim took the effort to literally go get the red panties. I actually didn't. I have a sponsor and a client for something else that I do who brought me the red panties, and she's worthy of the red panties, and she brought them to me. No reason that she brought them to me that would involve the two of us, unfortunately. But literally, she brought them to me to do a little photo op with them with a product of theirs. So that's why I have the red panties. But I wish I would have thought, Jeff, to go get them and have a prop here on the show. I think really that when you think about the Bellator fighters in the UFC, the two who I would like to see, and you talk about the UFC champ is undisputed best in the world, I'd like to see Lima and Patricio Pitbull try to prove otherwise. Those are the two I wish I could see. I wish I could see, especially if Chandler wins and makes a title run or wins the title, like a Pitbull coming in here, and for sure Lima, because Lima could compete against anybody in the world.
100%. I mean, those guys are top level fighters. If we get a ranking, a worldwide rankings, they're in the top 10. Even with the UFC fighters. Yeah, I mean, those are the two big ones, right? Those are the two big ones, and we know how good they are because they aren't like guys that have 5 fights. We've seen them fight 15, 20 times. I've seen Lima fight for years, and always kind of wondered how come he wasn't in the UFC and why isn't he back? So I agree, those are the two. But it can be done. Eddie Alvarez came over, won the UFC title from Bellator. He came over from Bellator and won the UFC title. It's not like it's unheard of. We've seen
Gaethje won an interim, coming as WSOF champ, right? Gaethje won the interim, so the precedent has been set. And look, Strikeforce and WEC and all those things for sure, pride. But Lion King says, "Get at her, Jim." No, her man is an undefeated Muay Thai and MMA fighter, so I'm not getting at her. I didn't even want to take them when they were delivered. I'm going, are you sure, man? We got to clear this with him first because I don't want to end up dead on the side of the road. This is not how I want to spend my weekend, especially when it's Conor and Poirier. So back to the main event, Jeff, for a few minutes here before we wrap it up. It's UFC 257 on MMA Weekly. Poirier versus McGregor 2, powered by CBD Emporium, featuring Level Select CBD. Go to cbdemporium.com/Level Select MMA. Enter the code MMA50. Get 50% off Level Select or CBD Emporium products today. Level Select CBD. Stay in the fight. No THC. The highest concentration of CBD in any product, any brand. Just ask Triple C Henry Cejudo. So, Jeff, the main event, Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. As the poster says, Poirier McGregor 2, but everybody knows it's Conor McGregor versus whoever he's fighting. Biggest star the sport has ever seen for a big reason, okay? He is, without a doubt, a dynamic combination of power, precision, speed, technical wizardry. He's such a smart fighter. Conor McGregor from the streets of Dublin, you know, like Jay-Z said, rags to riches, I ain't dumb, you know, and that's Conor McGregor. Very smart fighter. Poirier, who's been around forever, one of the best gyms in the sport at American Top Team, one of the best coaches in Mike Brown, been there for the longest of times and fought everyone. His experience fighting McGregor 7 years ago in a different weight class means nothing. Neither guy will take anything from the first fight. It's about the film that you watch from recent fights that matters a lot more. Completely different in every sense of the word, these fighters, minus the fact that they're still both at the top of the game. Conor McGregor, maybe a little bit more because of his name at this point. Poirier's been fighting the best for a long time. And at the time when they fought 7 years ago, Poirier had the most wins in the history of the featherweight division. Now he's got all these fights at lightweight. So the question is, stand and bang, Conor McGregor has the advantage. Poirier has the advantage, we think, if he tries to take him down, if he shows off the entire skill set. But we all know it's a fight, and everyone has a game plan until you get in there. What do you think is going to happen in this fight, Jeff? Because I could see it going any number of ways. I definitely think that Conor made a mistake not being aggressive against Khabib, because you look at the Cerrone fight and every fight before that, Conor McGregor came out aggressive and went right after every opponent. He let Khabib come to him. And I think that's where he lost the fight. I think you fight your fight. The old Bill Parcells quote, hey, we're not changing our game plan. They know what we're going to do, and they can't stop us. I think Conor made a mistake in that fight, altering his game plan because of Khabib's style, and I think Gaethje just did the same thing. Easy for me to say when I didn't have to fight Khabib, but I don't think you'll see Conor McGregor make that mistake again.
Well, I mean, with Khabib's a different animal, right? You cannot, if Khabib takes you down, the fight's over, period. And so you can't be aggressive with Khabib. He's just going to change levels, and bada bing, you're on your back, and the fight's over. And so Khabib forced those two guys to approach that fight differently. I don't know how this fight's going to play out. I think that Poirier's going to try to keep the pace kind of slow and avoid the big exchanges, wild exchanges. Make it the most technical striking bout that you can do on the feet, and then mix it up. You have to mix it up. You've got to tie McGregor up. You've got to put him against the cage. You've got to wear him down a little bit. You've got to take him down, even if you don't really inflict a ton of damage. Just make him be honest, right? Then all of a sudden, Conor can't plant on his punches for the fear of the takedown. Poirier has to fight really, really smart. For McGregor, got to do what you do best, right? Put your combinations together. Keep him in boxing range. Put your combinations together and try to sleep him. That's Conor's game plan in every fight. But I really feel like Poirier is an intelligent fighter and is not going to go out early. I'll say that. And even if it means that he's not going to engage with Conor early in the fight, I still feel like Poirier is going to take this first round maybe off and kind of feel things out and see where everything is. Because the last thing Poirier wants is to get knocked out in the first round again. That to me is still in the forefront of his mind, and so we're going to see him fight differently.
He's still in his head, man. When someone knocks you out, the second time around, he's in your head, but it takes a special person. Look how different Poirier even looks now. This is like not even the same person. Yeah. Best comment of the night, Jeff. Trevor Wade says Poirier will get sparked in one round, and Jeff will have to wear the red panties.
See, if I had thought about it, and I do have time before tomorrow night.
If you pay him, he'll do it, right? If you pay him.
I'm going to go get some red granny panties that are like 7 feet wide. I'll hang them behind me. I'll hang them behind me on the wall.
I love you, Jeff. I really do, man. I really love you.
I don't know who's going to win that fight, man. I mean, like I said, I'm not a Conor hater. I don't care if Conor wins or loses. I'm just trying to look at this stylistically and make it interesting, right? I mean, there's nothing interesting in saying Conor's going to go out there and knock him out in 45 seconds. That's not interesting. But if you get in Poirier's head and look at it from Poirier's perspective, the fight can absolutely be very interesting, right? It's just the way Poirier approaches it.
Let's see. Bauer Mode says, when Conor McGregor acts nice, he is more dangerous because it may disarm Dustin Poirier. Look what happened to Donald Cerrone. He looked shook once the fight started. No, he looked shook when the fight started because Conor McGregor broke his nose with his shoulder, and no one saw that coming, especially Cowboy Cerrone. So it has nothing to do with Conor McGregor being calm going into a fight to shake Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier has been in so many fights, so many huge fights on the world stage, Jeff. He's not going to be shook by anything Conor McGregor does this time around. He's been there. He's done that. This is clearly about once you get in there, and Cowboy Cerrone realized he was in there with the best version of Conor McGregor, and he went, oh, shit, I'm screwed. And he was screwed because he did get the best version of Conor McGregor. And the question is, will Poirier get the best version of Conor McGregor? If he does, will McGregor get the best version of Poirier? And who wins? I want to see both guys at their best. I want to see Poirier try for takedowns. I want to see McGregor defend them. I want to see them stand and trade. I want to see everything in this fight. One thing I know for sure, though, when Conor McGregor is in the octagon, you're going to see fire going every angle.
Yeah, I want to see a back and forth fight. I hear you. I'm sorry. When the video came up, the audio.
No, my picture was gone there for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. They firing me in the middle of the show? Like,
we're gonna. What's in the bag, Jim?
Am I Ottman Azaitar? Am I the second guy to get fired right here? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, man. Though, what the hell's in the bag? I want to see a competitive fight. I think that. I like Poirier. I'll say that. I do like Poirier because he's a nice person all the way around. Everything that he does is good, inside and outside of the octagon. So, it's hard not to like Dustin Poirier. And I just want him to have a good showing. I don't want to see him just get friggin' slept in 45 seconds again. I don't want to see that. I think Dustin's better than that. As crazy as that sounds, I do think that Dustin is better than that. Is Conor that good? Yes. But I still feel like Dustin is better than that. So hopefully we see a better showing out of Dustin in this different weight class and years down the road. And then for Conor, to me, Conor's got to prove that he's still Conor McGregor. The inactivity. The win over Cowboy, he made Cowboy look exactly the way he should have made him look, right? Cowboy probably shouldn't have been in there with Conor. And Conor made it look that way. But I want to see if Conor's fallen off any or if he's improved. Time off doesn't mean that you're getting worse. Not, necessarily. He might be better. We might see Conor McGregor come out here and pull a flying triangle or some crazy shit. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to this fight a lot. I hope Poirier has a better showing than he did the last time, and I hope we get to see McGregor face at least a little bit of adversity.
Yeah, no doubt. And I hope we see a great fight no matter what. And I think maybe, do you think they were sneaking Khabib back in so that he can actually be there for the fight and no one's supposed to know?
Let's hope not. Maybe Khabib was in the bag. Khabib was in the bag.
Screen.
I don't know what to, but that's the question I want to know. Seriously, that's the biggest question out of this whole event. Who cares who gets the lightweight title fight? What the hell was in the bag?
Conor will have the fight in the bag, according to Callum Mack. That was what our producer Scott just threw up on the screen. So it was Triple C the whole time. I don't know, Jeff, man. We could do this show all day. The chat's coming strong. The fans love the show. We enjoy doing it, man. But I'll tell you this, I'm excited. So what's the bet then? We got to have a bet. So if I'm taking McGregor and you're taking Poirier, is that what's even happening? Or does the bet have nothing to do with either one of us taking either fighter? And Jeff just has to hang up the granny panties on the set for what? The next week, the next 30 days? If Conor wins, you gotta hang the granny panties where the dartboard is.
I'll put the granny panties
on the dartboard.
Yeah, I'll put the granny panties up there for Sunday. I'm not keeping them up there a month. That's for sure. I don't know. My prediction for this fight, I'll go out on a limb. I'll take the heat for it. I'll say Poirier by submissions, third round. I'll even put a round out there, and I'll even say rear naked choke. I'll even call the submission shot. Now, when I say that, I also know that I'm going to get tons of people telling me that I'm a fool when Conor knocks him out. But I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet. I'll say Poirier. That's my prediction. Poirier, third round, rear naked choke win.
And if he doesn't, then you have to wear the granny panties with just your shirt and then stand up once during the show.
Up. Oh, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I don't know. I'm not committing.
Sponge Boy Me Bob. Is Tony Ferguson's career in the bag? That just hurts to read that. Ouch.
And that's why we have comments. Yes. Maybe. Who knows what was in that bag?
Tony, but think about this. Tony, he cut the weight twice for Gaethje. He fought a brutal fight where you said he should have taken a year off after and came back way too soon against Oliveira. Almost gets his arm snapped off in the first round against Charles. It was a bad year for Tony Ferguson. He never got the Khabib fight. And I love the dude. I think Tony's great. One of the all-time great fighters, especially of our generation, and never really got the respect. He did get the interim belt, the Kevin Lee fight, and he overcame adversity there. He'd always take some shots and overcome things to get the win in the fight. And who doesn't love a guy who kicks steel beams to prepare for a fight? How do you not like Tony Ferguson? But my whole point when I talk about Kukui is I don't think he's at the top of the division anymore. Time is cruel. I think he screwed himself by cutting weight twice, probably, and in my opinion, would have won the Gaethje fight had he not done that. And I don't understand why he did. It made no sense to me. But at the end of the day, look, Tony Ferguson's Tony Ferguson, and all the things that he had done being Tony Ferguson seemed to have worked out for him prior to 2020. Cutting weight twice didn't work out. The Oliveira fight didn't work out. And now he's sliding in the rankings. So I'm really, the way that he's trained, and I don't know, man. I just think the division right now, and you look at it, like same thing at 170. The three guys at the top of 170 as good as you're going to find in the history of the sport anywhere. And the same thing at 55 right now. It's not necessarily that Tony is not a great fighter anymore, although I do think he's slipping. But when I compare him to the other fighters in this division, we are talking about the most jacked and stacked division in the sport.
Yeah, when it comes to Tony Ferguson, the reason why I don't criticize Tony too much is because I have empathy for Tony, man. He had the 5 chances to fight Khabib, never got them. And then people forget that Tony had issues, right? He had psychological issues. His family got a restraining order against him, and so I was kind of worried when Tony came back, but then when he came back, he looked as good as he ever looked, but then he cut weight twice in the baseball weird thing, and so I don't know if Tony's right. If that makes sense.
You worry about CTE. You worry about that. I do.
I worry about everything, and I worry about, just everything. Mental health, man. I mean, schizophrenia or something. I'm not saying that's what Tony had, but I'm just saying that I was worried, legitimately worried for Tony Ferguson. And then when they put him in there, he looked so good. I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. And then the next 2 fights came, and I don't know if I was wrong. I feel like maybe Tony Ferguson physically is as good as he's ever been, but he's not there mentally anymore, and that has nothing to do with him. It has to do with life and just getting thrown that curveball, just out of the blue, right? You wake up and you're not right mentally. And I feel like that's happened to Tony Ferguson, but nobody wants to talk about it. I was sort of upset that they even gave him a fight. When your family gets a restraining order against you, why the hell are you in the octagon again? And then the testimony that his wife gave, Tony changed all the locks on the doors. So what kind of paranoia are you feeling at that point? And so that's why I'm hesitant with Tony Ferguson. Do I think Tony's what he used to be? No. But I have empathy for Tony because I feel like Tony's going through more than just the fight game, if that makes sense. And hopefully I'm wrong and Tony comes back and everything. But that's what it is with me and Tony Ferguson, and why I seem to be hesitant to put Tony Ferguson down and to say that he's on.
I don't want to put him down either. No, I love the guy, man, and I love humans in general. I'm an empath. I want to see everyone succeed. I want to see everyone do okay and be healthy. And Tony Ferguson, we'll see his next fight. Is it going to be against a Nate Diaz? Is it going to be against an RDA? They have some options there. I'd love to see him against Diaz, but Hassan Aziz, Jeff, wants to know why we're not talking about Islam as one of the best future prospects at 155, because we're talking about McGregor, Poirier, Chandler, Hooker, Khabib, Gaethje. I mean, this division is just, and a former champ in RDA is ranked 7th in the division. I mean, it's just so loaded.
Well, when Islam's on the fight card, we'll definitely be talking about him. I agree. He's a wonderful prospect with all kinds of possibilities. It's just he's not on this fight card, so we're not talking about it. That's why we're not talking about it. In the lightweights, we're talking about that top of that division, and
he's
so
not
that's
in
why
the title
Tony
picture right now. Is why I'm not talking about him.
Yeah, exactly. He'll get his time in the spotlight. He'll get his time for everybody talking about him for sure.
Trevor Wade says Jeff has all the answers except what's in the bag. I'm disappointed. Hey, when you've been writing for 18 years for MMA Weekly and you're the most trusted source for news in mixed martial arts and you're Jeff Kane, you got to know almost everything.
I can't, like I said, I don't want to speculate what's in the bag, but I'll say that I've been around long enough to know that that's the actions of a desperate human being. That's an actions of an addict. That's an action of somebody hiding something from their spouse or something. There's something in that bag that's big, which is what I want to know what the hell's in the bag.
Well, to go from balcony to balcony like freaking Spider-Man. I mean, I would love to see if there's video of this shit. I mean, I want to. Yeah. Can you imagine live from UFC Fight Island? There's someone scaling the building. Oh my God!
It wasn't something sentimental. You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't something like they gave her the wristbands and the guy wanted his lucky shirt or some shit like that.
No.
This is something that they smuggled across balconies. So, but like I said, the desperation—that's what stands out to me. How desperate are you that you cut wristbands during a pandemic, hand them out to people, and then they bring you a bag to the room that they have to scale across 4 balconies to get to? What desperate? What makes
I've never scaled
desperate?
4 balconies. I've never scaled balconies, but I have cut wristbands to get in places. I have done that multiple times.
Yeah, I've done wristbands at concerts. I wouldn't jeopardize my career by doing it at a fight, but I have done it at concerts.
My God, this is amazing. Thareen Munasinghe says Jim is a stud. I agree, 100%. I just want to say.
Yeah. You're hired. He's hired.
Could never agree more than what.
Oh, that's great. I like that guy. He's hired.
There is video. The security cams caught it. Brad, is this true, Brad? Brad just posted that. There is video. The security cams caught it. I got to see this. I got to search this again.
I just want to know what was in the bag. That's the big question. And like I said, I have a feeling that it's not going to be good. Hashtag what's in the bag.
Maybe he forgot his level select CBD from CBD Emporium.
See, maybe that was it. Now that would be worth scaling over some balconies. Maybe I think you're onto something.
Who knows what's in the bag? Dana knows what's in the bag. Of course, Dana knows what's in the bag.
And the fighter knows what's in the bag, and so does his corner and everybody. I mean, how do you go back to your camp? And you go back home. Well, what happened to your fight in Abu Dhabi? Well, I gave some people some wristbands. I'm actually out of a job right now.
Your
you
coaches,
need any fitness
your
instruction?
team.
Where do you go from here?
Well, no, his team was in on it, according to Dana. Now, I'm not watching all this right now, but I believe that he said him and his team. So it might have even been, we could say this, and we're sitting here ripping him. It could have been someone on his team without his knowledge.
I hope that's what it was.
Jackass like me is calling him stupid.
Yeah, I hope that's what it was. I hope a teammate was an idiot and did this, and that this guy's suffering for it right now, but in the long run, he's going to be fine. I hope that's the case. Because he was such a promising prospect.
Because he's 13-0 with 10 finishes, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so you're saying Poirier submission, rear naked choke, 3rd round. I'm saying Conor McGregor. Are you ready? Conor McGregor, 2nd round TKO. And, of course, it's the left. And Sponge Boy Me Bob says it's Mark Hunt's money in the bag. Oh, that's messed up. Oh, we need the video. This is great. Hashtag what's in the bag. What's it? Nate Diaz. Someone put Nate Diaz weed. Nate Diaz would walk right in with his weed in his hand. He would not smuggle it anywhere. He's Nate Diaz.
No. Who knows?
Oh, man. So I'm going to go Conor 2nd round. And you got Poirier 3rd round. I got TKO. You got submission. And then Hooker Chandler. I'm actually going to go – I think Hooker finishes Chandler, and I think he makes it look easy. And I like Mike Chandler, but I think Hooker makes it look easy. And he says, there's levels to this shit, man. Go back to Bellator.
Ooh, that's a bold prediction.
That's what I'm saying, and I think that's why Hooker wants him. I love Hooker, and I'm not saying anything bad about Mike Chandler, but he got finished by Pitbull. He's an older version of Mike Chandler. I just don't think, and I've never thought he could compete at the highest levels of the UFC. This is one of the things that I hate doing, but I have to give my honest opinion. I don't think Mike Chandler belongs in the octagon with the top competitors in that division.
Woo!
And I love Mike Chandler.
I don't know.
I love him. But
I like Hooker in that fight. I'm predicting Hooker to win that fight by a late stoppage. But now I'm like, man, do I want to agree with Jim on this, or do I just want to go all in on Michael Chandler? I think Michael Chandler can be in the UFC. I think he's better than a lot of the people on the roster in that division. Do I think he's top 3? No. We'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow. I feel like if Chandler were going to make this run in the UFC, it needed to be 4 years ago, right? Needed to be 4 years ago, before he went through the wars with Pitbull and Will Brooks and all that.
Someone calls him an Askren. He's an Askren. Chandler's an Askren. I don't know. Ben had a tough time.
Say that. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I think that Chandler has a more well-rounded game than Askren. But Askren's a hell of a disc golf player, if that means anything. I think Hooker's going to win late. I think Hooker's going to win late, and he's going to spoil Chandler's UFC debut. That's my prediction. I tried to convince myself that Chandler's going to win that fight, and he could, but I'm going with Hooker on that.
Yeah, Sponge Boy Me Bob has a great point. Hooker won rounds against Poirier. That Poirier fight convinced me that Hooker's legit and he might have a title run in him because he gave Dustin everything he could handle. Now, granted, Poirier's coming back off the surgery and it wasn't maybe the same 100% Poirier, but I don't want to say that because if you're in there, you're 100%. The reality is my old high school coach used to say it. If you're playing, you're fine. If you're not playing, you're not fine. But if you're playing, you're fine. And when you're in there, you're in there. It doesn't matter what is hurting you. Everybody's got something that's bugging him. Everybody's got Henry Cejudo beat Marlon Moraes on one foot with one arm. I mean, it just happens in this game. You're going to have all kinds of bumps and bruises. You're going to have little snaps and tears and breaks and sprains and all sorts of crap when you go into a fight. That's just the name of the game in mixed martial arts. But there is a replacement fight, Shihab. It's Matt Frivola got Arman Sarukian at a 157 catch weight as the main event on the prelims, and he loses his spot on the main card for a Conor McGregor fight.
And it goes back, like I said, I mean, that's what pisses me off more about that. I mean, yes, he put everybody at risk. It's just levels of why I'm mad about that. Now his opponent, who made weight, did everything he was supposed to do, was 100% professional, now is not on the main card. He gets a last-minute opponent, right? I don't even know that I would have took up the damn fight. I'd have took my show money and left. Why would you take an opponent on 14 or 16, 17 hours notice? Because your other opponent was a jackass. Like I said, he screwed everybody involved in this. It's just so unprofessional. And so now his opponent is not on the main card, and he's having to fight somebody on less than a day's notice. You know, he should absolutely be fired. He should be fired for that alone, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, what an opportunity for these fighters. And we'll get your final thoughts here, Jeff, in a second. We're going to wrap this up, but the chat is still going strong. We love you guys. We're going to be here tomorrow for the fight. During the fight, we'll be streaming live. So make sure you come back and join us. That's at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific in the U.S. I can't go through all the time zones that you guys are in. I mean, we got people from all over the damn world right now. And I love it. I mean, it just proves Dana White's point. You go anywhere on God's green earth and have two people fight, and people are going to care. People are going to want to watch it. Anytime there's a fight in a lunchroom, in a parking lot, in a casino, at a bar, everyone stops to watch the fight. Dana went big on that, and he was right. And that's where we're at right now with the UFC, the number one sport, in my opinion, in the world. 2020 leading from the front, charging right through the pandemic. What a start to 2021 with Max Holloway. And Jeff, now you got Conor McGregor and Poirier. You got Hooker. You got Chandler. You got a big fight card. We're going to be here streaming live. Sunday, we'll be on with the recap show as well. And, dude, I'm telling you what, right now, we're going to have so many people watching us. We love what we're doing. Every single week for the fights, we're going to have a weigh-in show in Vegas from the Apex coming back in February. We're going to have a post-fight press conference. We're going to stream live during the fights. We're going to be here for you and with you. And you guys are such an entertaining part of the show. We love having you in the chat. We love having you with us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're here, please. Make sure you hit that bell. Make sure you like it. Make sure you throw comments up throughout the show because it's interactive. It's the world we live in. It's a beautiful place, a beautiful thing. Maybe the two of us aren't beautiful, but everything else about the show, Jeff, is.
Yeah, and so to take us out today, I'm just going to say one thing, man, and it's the whole theme of the day, right? All I want to know is what's in the bag, Jim. What's in the bag?
What's in the bag, Jeff? What's in the bag? Hashtag what's in the bag.
That's
the number one McGregor fan, the president of the Conor McGregor fan club, Jeff Kane.
Yes.
Oh my God. MMA Weekly's live coverage of UFC 257. Poirier against some guy named McGregor. The rematch is powered by CBD Emporium featuring Level Select CBD. Go to cbdemporium.com/Level Select MMA. Enter the code MMA50. Get 50% off Level Select or CBD Emporium products today. Level Select CBD. Stay in the fight. Again, 50% off. The code's MMA50. The web page, the landing page is cbdemporium.com/Level Select MMA. Very excited, Jeff, for this show today. Great job by you as always. I'm waiting to see the red granny panties, though. I'm waiting for those.
I am, and I'm not booking any vacations to Ireland anytime soon.
No, and don't hang them. I mean, don't wear them. Hang them on the dartboard. That'd be even better.
I'll hang them back there. Big granny panties.
Shehab Al-Sheikh says, you guys have done a great job. This is my first live stream. Y'all are beautiful. Don't say that. Thank you for this great time. Hopefully we know what's in the bag. What's in the bag is the question of the day. Jeff, did you ever think that would be the question of the day? There would be any other question of the day on a Conor McGregor preview show. Hashtag what's in the bag.
No, I give it to him, right? He just stole the spotlight from Conor McGregor. And who has ever been able to do that? Well,
anyone not named Jeff Kane. And I'll tell you what, on behalf of everybody here at MMA Weekly, we want to thank you for being here. Don't forget, like, subscribe, smash all those buttons. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're taking over the world at MMAWeekly.com. Exclusive coverage, Jeff's coverage, Ken Pisner's coverage, our whole team covering UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor. Thank you to CBD Emporium and Level Select CBD. MMA50 is the code. cbdemporium.com/Level Select MMA. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, streaming live during the main event. This is MMA Weekly, the most trusted source of news and entertainment in mixed martial arts. For Jeff Kane with the red granny panties, I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. What's in the bag? Hashtag thank you. We love you. We'll catch you tomorrow right here on MMA Weekly.